If you're anything like me, you probably follow hundreds of birding pages on Instagram. Some belong to incredibly talented photographers, others showcase amazing places to visit and explore. A few months ago, I came across a page called Legado das Aves. The page kept posting incredible photos of birds, monkeys, and wildlife from the Atlantic forest. Then, one day, while watching their stories, I realized something. Wait, can you actually stay here? This is a real birding destination? Naturally, I had to know more. So I did a quick Google search and I found out that it actually is a real place, although it only had one review. But at least I got an address. After a bit of research, I discovered it was surprisingly close to Sao Paulo. That's when I found Gustavo Pinto's page, and one thing became obvious very quickly. This man travels all over Brazil looking for birds. I mean, a lot. I asked a few bird guides that I trust about him, and every single one spoke incredibly highly of him. One even told me that he might just be the best bird guide in Brazil. So, after one phone call and a few confirmations, here we are. The only problem between work and everyday life, Roberta and I only have a 24-hour window to explore the mountain. So, let's find out if 24 hours is enough at Legado das Aves.
Oh yeah. Hummingbirds.
No, can't see. Oh.
Look at that. It's checking us out.
It's so gorgeous.
I've never seen that kind before.
Me either.
Completely white.
White belly,
Very pretty.
green back.
Once you pass through the city of Miracatu, it's only a short drive up the mountain to Legado das Aves. Just follow the signs. Even on a rainy and cloud-covered day, the drive itself was beautiful. Keep your camera ready because the road up the mountain offers some incredible views along the way. By the time we arrived, the rain had picked up, so Roberta and I took the opportunity to sit down with Gustavo and his wife and learn about how they discovered this place.
Aí quando chegou aqui, nessa cidade, a gente andou para vários lugares. Aí já tava desistindo, tava para sair, tinha uma bifurcação, direita e esquerda. Eu falei, vamos para direita. Peguei a direita, fomos até o final da estrada. mas era altitude de 20 metros. Eu não queria, eu queria uma coisa mais elevada,
Mais
de 100 para
elevada.
cima. Beleza,
Por
fizemos
quê?
contorno,
Por causa do-
fizemos contorno e voltamos. Quando a gente voltou, numa varanda de uma casa, tinha um cara. Aí eu parei e perguntei, ô, tem alguma área para vender? O cara falou, aqui tem. Esse lado aqui, um pouco de montanha assim, um pasto, aqui tá vendendo. Mas não era o que eu queria, mas eu falei, tá bom, mas com quem quer é um cara de São Paulo. Aí eu olhei a altitude 22 metros, eu falei pra ele, falou, Davi, é o nome dele, né? Falou, Davi, mas 22 metros pra mim não dá, eu queria uma coisa mais alta. Tá. Meu irmão tem um sítio lá no morro, lá umas coisas lá, um pedaço de terra lá pra vender. Ih, mas lá só tem passarinho, anta, cabrito. Eu falei, o que é cabrito? Aí ele falou, cabrito, aquele viadinho. Eu falei, não demonstrei empolgação, né? Mas fiquei doido. Pô, parar numa varanda, no meio do nada. E o cara fala assim, mas lá naquele morro lá só tem passarinho. E aí morro, mas é alto lá.
Quais são?
Aí ele falou, não sei, dá uns 100 metros de altitude. Eu falei, vamos lá ver. Aí era de tarde. Hoje não dá, vamos amanhã, vamos. Aí eu pra comedouro, pra borboleta, mariposa. Mas aí vai ser o chalé, os macaquinhos vêm ali comer.
Qual tipo de macaquinhos?
Tá, graças a Deus eu prego. Em 2020, quando eu comprei, tinha bugio. Depois daquela doença, febre amarela que deu, eu não vi... A gente acha que a gente escutou ontem um bando vindo lá do outro lado, lá da montanha, lá no final, bugio. Tô torcendo pra ser eles. Se for, logo que uns 2, 3 dias estão passando aqui. E aqui vem o prego.
Gustavo later showed me around the property and explained how he has been slowly shaping the mountain by planting trees and restoring habitat, turning it into a refuge not just for birds, but for all life in Mata Atlântica.
Vamos pegar e outra coisa, a gente fez um levantamento geral. A altura que a árvore ia chegar, né? A altura a época que ela produz, frutifica. Por quê? Porque eu tenho um relevo aqui, né? Então árvores de 8 metros eu coloquei lá embaixo, para quando ela crescer ela ficar na copa da altitude nossa. Árvore de 5 metros mais para baixo. E assim a gente fez. E nesse vale de sombra aqui, ó, ali embaixo, a gente plantou 2.000 pés de jussara. 2.000 mudas de jussara, tudo aqui embaixo. Ela vai formar um corredor quando estiver alto. Porque a parte mais baixa até a copa da onde a gente está nesse platô, dá 8 metros. E é mais ou menos a medida que uma jussara vai chegar. Então quando ela chegar na altura máxima, a gente vai estar na altura dos olhos aqui.
E este você falou?
Esse aqui é o araçá roxo.
Que os tucanos gostam,
Isso,
né?
nossa, o tucano, saíra, araçari, poca, banana, tudo comeram aí.
Uau. E por enquanto, este lugar lá em cima, lá, você tem mais lugares onde você vai?
A gente vai entrar com plantio toda essa parte aqui. Aqui como a gente vai inaugurar daqui uns dias, daqui no máximo um mês, abrir de vez mesmo, essa parte desse plantio eu quero que os clientes façam, né? Plantar sua árvore.
Entendi.
Então eu vou ter as mudas aí e eles vão plantar as árvores deles aí.
As soon as the rain stopped, the first birds arrived. Roberta and I scrambled to get our gears ready, but thankfully the birds just kept coming. After a couple of hours, activity slowed and they disappeared back into the forest. Then, near the flowering bushes, something tiny caught my attention. At first, I was convinced it was a hummingbird, but with a smile, Gustavo introduced me to the hummingbird moth. I had never seen anything like it before and instantly became fascinated. I also noticed several bees sleeping beneath the leaves for the night. I had no idea some bees rested outside the hive like this, completely still, beneath the flowers and leaves. It was unexpectedly adorable. As night fell, Gustavo introduced me to a completely different side of Legado das Aves. Using lights to attract insects, especially moths, he revealed just how rich the mountain's ecosystem really is.
Ele fazer isso em mim. Olha esse aqui. Quer ver? Deixa ele subir no meu dedo. Ó, agora eu vou tentar tirar. Ó. Olha isso aqui. Olha o que ele faz. Não, e não tem quem tira. Se você forçar, você arranca a perna dele.
Gente,
Olha como que ele
loucura.
entra aqui, ó.
Sim.
Deixa ele pegar mais firme. E ele não voa de uma vez, ele larga a asa, vai prepara para poder sair.
Ele avisa antes de sair.
Mas olha o detalhe do olhos dele. Uma anteninha dupla, ó. Uma sobrancelha. Tá chegando.
By the end of the night, Roberta and I had seen hundreds of them. I had never cared much about moths before, but that night completely changed the way I see them. Here are some of the interesting ones that we saw that night. Something quite fascinating to see was the swarm of moths and insects quickly attracted frogs, which seemed ecstatic with excitement. All the insect activity brought in the frogs and the bats, and before long the bats attracted owls. It was a fascinating glimpse into the mountain's rich and interconnected ecosystem. Keeping watch nearby, Gustavo alerted us when the first owl arrived. It was a majestic tawny-browed owl who silently appeared and was ready to hunt. By 1 a.m., no exaggeration, we had seen at least 200 plus species of different types of moth. We were exhausted and finally headed to bed, hoping to catch a few hours of sleep before waking up very early the next morning. We slept quite well in a rustic but cozy room. Unfortunately, this is the only photo I took of it.
Olha que lindo de manhã. Maravilhoso. Lá naquele outro lado, naquela casinha ali, é onde a gente vai tomar café da manhã. E aqui é o alojamento, que sim, está terminando de ser construído. A flor linda que eu amei, que acho que eles falam chamar peixe, não tenho certeza. Ali a entrada da propriedade. Aqui, se a gente subir, tem que ver o que ficou de mariposa de ontem à noite. Mas olha essa vista.
The morning felt like something out of a fairy tale. The mist, the mountain views, and the sound of the forest waking up created an atmosphere that's just hard to describe.
Quiserem usar o repelente creme.
So the bees, apparently, are not early risers, but the hummingbird moth certainly was, and I managed to get some lovely shots of it before the first birds arrived. Soon we spotted this black-billed toucan and a yellow-breasted trogon, but unfortunately they were far atop the mountain peak. Gustavo reassured us that we would find the trogons later on when they descend into the valley. Thankfully, the mountain was alive with other birds that were much closer. After about an hour or so of photographing these birds, on whom we were so focused that we barely noticed the fog rolling down the mountain. Before long, we were surrounded by a thick blanket of white mist. The sun disappeared, the sky vanished, and suddenly the entire mountain felt like a completely different world. Gustavo quickly realized the birds had already moved lower into the valley to escape the fog, so we followed, and sure enough, the birds were right there waiting for us. I was genuinely impressed by how quickly Gustavo kept finding them. It reminded me of something that I often say about the Atlantic forest. It's overflowing with life, but without an experienced guide, you'll hear far more than you'll ever see. And yes, we found the Trogon again. At the bottom of the valley, we reached a beautiful waterfall where Gustavo led us hoping to find a hawk that he often sees nearby. Unfortunately, it was not there today, but instead, we found one of the smallest birds in the Atlantic forest. This is the eared pygmy tyrant. It is a tiny bird that I have only seen once before, and very briefly. This bird is notoriously difficult to photograph. But this time, both Roberta and I managed to get some amazing shots, and this bird really put on quite the show for us. The plan was to look for falcons. Instead, I mentioned to Gustavo that I really wanted to photograph a spot-billed toucanet. I have never managed to get a good photo of it, and it would be a lifer for Roberta. Gustavo thought for a moment and suggested checking some nearby Jussara palm trees, where these birds often feed at this hour. It was not for certain, and so we had to decide to either go down the valley looking for falcons or up the valley to the spot that Gustavo mentioned, looking for the spot build to connect. We quickly realized two things. Thankfully, we made the right decision, and that Gustavo really knows his mountain. We found an entire family of spot build toucanets and spent about 20 minutes observing them.
Pode ir bem para frente.
After an incredible morning of birding, we returned completely exhausted. I was ready to rest, but the flowering plants around the lodge were alive with butterflies and day moths. Yeah, this mountain just refuses to slow down, and so much for my rest. As I sat there, taking in the view, one question kept circling in my mind. What exactly is Legado das Aves? I mean, what had Gustavo and his wife really created here? After nearly 24 hours on the mountain, I still couldn't fully answer it. With less than an hour left before we had to leave, I decided to walk the trail one last final time. It was already mid-afternoon and my camera battery was nearly dead, and honestly, I almost left it behind. Thankfully, I didn't. Because waiting there, almost like a final goodbye from the forest itself, was a male swallow-tailed mannequin, one of the true symbols of the Atlantic forest. And in that moment, I found the answer. Legado das Aves is what conservation with purpose looks like. It's what happens when passion and knowledge and patience are all poured back into the forest year after year. Gustavo and his wife haven't simply built a birding destination. They've created a living refuge where the many faces of the Mata Atlântica can thrive together. And perhaps the most incredible part is that this mountain is still becoming what they had envisioned. The trees Gustavo has planted are still growing. The forest is still evolving. Which means the magic we experienced over the last 24 hours is only the beginning. Bonus tip: driving down the mountain, keep your camera ready. You will pass some quaint little farms and see birds surfing on ponies. I repeat, birds surfing on ponies. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope one day you get the chance to visit Legado das Aves. Places like this don't just show you wildlife, they remind you what a forest is supposed to feel like.